Hey, business building warrior, welcome to another episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm your host today, Jim Cockrum. And as you've heard on literally hundreds of other episodes, we have another interview today with a successful, proven Amazon course student. But today it's a little different. Today's student is one who's also gone on to become a coach on our team. And you'll hear his story today. I won't repeat anything that you're about to hear right now. I won't do too much of that anyway, but I think it's really cool that he was on our show back in episode number 583. He happened to remember the number before we started the episode today. And this is an update episode. And if you go back and listen to Ted, you're about to meet on episode 583, you'll hear someone who's starting to get some momentum. He's starting to get some confidence. He was still kind of unsure about all of this, but it was starting to work. And we love doing interviews with students like that and then bringing them back later so you can see that journey of leadership and maturing into their business and the confidence that they get as they scale and automate. And Ted doesn't have any products, very little product. He has some that comes to his house, but he just had a six-figure month last month with his business. When we first had him on the show back in episode 583, a little over a year ago, he was thrilled with a $7,000 month that he had just had. And he was really catching on and building some relationships. And he was eager to continue to grow, working this into his schedule because he's got a full time job, as he'll describe today. But now he just had a seven-figure month at great margins. He's going to share all the details, how he finds his inventory, what strategies he's using, the tools he's using to build the systems out. And this is another case of a student using the Amazon Replens system that we teach to 99% of all the new students in our community, because it doesn't matter where you live in the world. This process simply works if you follow the system that we've laid out, which does take some work. Absolutely. But as we've looked at the landscape of business opportunities that are out there, this is the lowest risk, lowest learning curve, lowest barrier to entry opportunity with the highest odds of success that we've been able to identify. And you can scale it to some truly incredible numbers, as you'll hear on today's show. Ted has some great additional tips and strategies towards the end of the show today, some book recommendations and things. We always love hearing those from our guests as well. I'm going to give you one last little bit of info, and then we're going to jump into the interview with Ted. We've got our conference coming up in May. Tickets are now on sale. You can get over to theprovenconference.com. That's the website, theprovenconference.com, and see the May 23rd through 25th, 2024 event. Ted, our guest today, will be one of the presenters. We actually worked that out live on the show today, that he's going to be there with us and presenting. And I also welcomed him onto the coaching team today live. We had scheduled today, had two purposes. We're going to record a podcast episode and bring him onto the coaching team as one of our coaches. So you hear that introductory conversation that I have with all new coaches. That's part of our show today as well. Hopefully you enjoy that segment where we spend some time talking through that. Well, there's a lot of other things I could say, but I'm just going to let you enjoy this episode. If there's any links that Ted and I mentioned today, resources, services, that sort of thing, they will be in the show notes. If you go to today's episode and scroll down, you're going to see all those links so you don't have to remember anything or write it down. We got it all for you. We got your back. So Ted, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
And let me just start the show right off the bat. I probably said something in the introduction already as well, but welcome to the coaching team. We haven't talked since that became official. So great having you on board as a coach.
Yeah, thank you. Really excited for this new chapter. Didn't really ever think that I would be a coach, but a series of people like you and my friend Travis, who's also a coach, just encouraging me to keep growing in my leadership journey. It's awesome, becoming that person is that you can see yourself as that successful person. And so it takes steps like this to get there. So
Yeah, you're absolutely
really
right.
excited.
Yeah, it's crazy. This Indiana contingency is kind of growing. I got a lot of friends now in the area, and we just brought on board another coach who I've known for almost 30 years. We were doing the math, and he just got into Amazon a little over a year ago, but he's killing it after his other career. It's an episode not too far from this one. Mike, you'll probably meet him at some point. But you brought up Travis. on
Yeah,
our
all
team as well.
yeah,
Yeah, Mike Alta, and then
yeah,
Travis, he attends church with me. And so we're getting a pretty good contingency. Of our 60 coaches, we got about five of us who are right here local, man. So yeah, pretty cool. Welcome aboard though, man. And it's been a pleasure working with you. And I love your story, which is what I want to get into. I probably mentioned it in the introduction as well, but you were on the episode. You happen to remember the number 583 was the podcast episode that you told me right
yeah.
before we hit record today. So people can go back and listen to that. But for those who don't, why don't you give us a quick recap, who you are, kind of where you came from, what we hit in that first episode, and then let's get people up to speed on how things have gone since.
Okay, yeah. So I'm a full-time firefighter from Indianapolis, and I started learning about Amazon in like July of 2022. Actually, kind of got into it by watching some YouTube video that was a step-by-step training, and but I knew it wasn't enough. That was a private label video. Luckily, I did my research and I found the Proven Amazon course, which was like the best reviewed and cheapest option, and so it was kind of a no brainer. I started listening to the Silent Sales Machine, and just everything made a lot of sense. So decided to sign up for the Proven Amazon course and the Kickstarter course, which I highly recommend.
Oh, I forgot you
Um,
went through Kickstart. You must have been one of the first few sessions. Who was your coach for that? Do you remember?
so I
Was it
initially
Dahlia?
had Delia.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
she did the first few. I think she only did
yeah,
two or three of them. And then we had other coaches on our team take over. So yeah, you were one of the first rounds going way back. Because here we are for the sake of
yeah,
timeline, January of 2024. So we've done a
yeah,
bunch of those since, but that's cool. You were
yeah.
one of the inaugural Kickstart groups. For those people who don't know what Kickstart is, new proven Amazon course students could go to silentjimdotcom/kickstart and get details on that. And we walk you through with a coach, a small group of others. How many were in your group, Ted? Do you ever remember approximately?
No, I mean probably like maybe 15 to 30 people, maybe
Yeah,
something like
15,
that.
20 is kind of the high end for us now. We used to put a few more in
Yeah,
those groups, but it's a group of newer students and you kind of go through the process of getting ramped up together. Yeah, I'd forgotten that you were even in that. Glad you brought it up, buddy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
great way to go from knowing nothing to getting your first shipment sent in is basically the goal.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you did
So.
that. And then it wasn't too long after that where you were picking up some speed because we reached out to you, to be on the podcast as one of the kind of the emerging newbie success stories, so to speak, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I just kind of kept going through the Proven Amazon course, and but yeah, really that Kickstarter, because I mean, you really got to just take action, because that's the best way you learn. As you've said, learn just in time learning. If you're literally going through the process and then looking up what's the right word, applicable information
Yeah, trying to
right as you
find
need it,
yeah, get it while
relevant.
you
Yeah,
get it as you need it instead of just trying to study
right.
4 years ahead, right? Yeah, our
Mhm.
whole education system is set up around that. And I love that little soapbox I jump on very briefly, but we're used to
Yeah,
being educated just in case you need the information someday. The example I always use is dissecting an isosceles triangle. Like we all had to learn it just in case you need this someday. Like, wait,
yeah,
you're a fireman, right? Like I run an Amazon business. I haven't had to dissect an isosceles triangle ever. I understand the value in math and basic skills, but like, how about we
right.
just teach you what you need right as you need it for the path that you're on? That's what we do here. Yeah, the just in
Right.
time approach. Yeah, very good. So, what's relevant to me now?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, before the podcast, I had just kind of been, learning through the Proven Amazon course. I got connected with the local Amazon sellers in Indianapolis, which is, when I met you for the first time, and Travis who runs that, and that was super helpful. Just, I mean, we stress it all the time in the community, like get involved, like nurture these, relationships that I mean, they're so helpful. Like when when you're that person that doesn't know a whole lot and needs help, like people are so willing to like help as long as you're like giving well thought out, questions, or maybe you put a little bit of effort to figure it out yourself. But people are so inviting and open to help people that are clearly serious and hungry about, learning. So really it was just the Proven Amazon course and, being active in the My Silent Team Facebook group and the mastermind. And that was kind of all I was doing going up until I, got on the podcast the first time. And it was pretty funny. I saw a year ago a memory on Facebook that said I did just under 7K in sales last December, which was cool to see because I just did over 100K this past December. And
Yeah, that's pretty good growth. What is that? Five, no, 800 times growth, something. No, way more than that. That's almost a
yeah,
thousand time growth.
I guess like
I mean, that's
13,
insane.
14X.
How many people have businesses that get to say that, man? That's awesome, dude. You did 100K in December. That's beautiful. And we'll dive more into
Yeah.
your team and what you're selling and how you're finding it in a minute. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you were about the time we did podcast 583. Our podcast episodes are into the 760 somethings now. So a couple hundred episodes ago, and
Yeah.
which
It's
represents
crazy.
about a year ago, right? That you were on the show, a little over a year ago.
Mhm.
And man, that's tremendous.
Yeah.
Just just beautiful, dude. I can't wait to dig
Yeah.
into more, man. Yeah, I'm eager to learn from you. That's the one thing. Sometimes people get the impression like, oh, this is Jim's community. Jim is the guy that knows everything. Once you're around a little while, you realize like I'm just here. I'm a sponge, man. I'm soaking up, learning new things constantly. If I sound smart, it's because someone smarter than me just taught me something, and I'm sharing it now, right? Like I stopped being the most creative leader in this community probably about 18 years ago. Now I'm benefiting from the tenacity and the creativity and the ingenuity of all these great leaders. We've got 60 coaches on our team like you who have built beautiful businesses. I get to hang out with people like that. And I want to revisit something you just said and reemphasize it, say the same thing you said slightly differently, maybe about the relationships, the local groups. Yeah, we have a good group here in Indy. And, truth be told, I've only been 2 or 3 times in the past 3 years. Like one of them was when I met you. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
been back since. It just doesn't fall on good days, times. Middle of the day is crazy for me typically. So I don't do much of those myself. But we've got them all over the world. And we teach people in our Facebook group how to find others near them so you can do this. There's groups like that all over the place. And you can do it virtually too. It's not quite as powerful, but that's great too, to have the Zoom
Right.
groups, meetups, and such. I wanted to emphasize that. But also just the fact that we have 60 coaches on this team. So when you come into our community, you're not getting Jim's wisdom or Ted's wisdom. You're getting the combined wisdom of hundreds of people, thousands that are doing this business, 60 of us who really care as coaches
Yeah.
and leaders. So that's the opportunity to be a part of what we've
Yeah.
got going here. And you came from, correct me if I'm wrong, but remembering back to podcast episode 583, like you had very little e-commerce experience prior to this, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was just I did print on demand with like through
that's right.
Etsy, but
Hmm.
that's just creating a t-shirt design and uploading it. That's all it takes.
Yeah,
So this is a whole different animal. It's a lot more involved, but it's also, so much more potential.
yeah.
And yeah,
Scales to bigger numbers with a good system, right?
yeah,
Well, let's get into
exactly.
what you're doing now. That getting to that $7,000 month is a significant achievement for sure. That was Ted a year ago plus. 100,000 is a completely different animal. You've got a team now, you've got systems and processes, and you've got all your inventory somewhere flying in and out the door. Like, let's talk
Yeah.
through the reality of what it looks like now.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. That's a lot of units being moved around, and so I think one of my biggest bottlenecks, once you get to a certain point, you're going to be prepping for hours at your house, and you're like, I could be doing something better, and there's so many options to, take care of that problem. Getting a prep center, having someone help you out, whatever it is, and so I have a really awesome prep center that and for Q4 and I mean they FBM for me as well, which FBM I think is really important if you want to really take advantage of like December, and, and you don't have to do that because it is a lot of work and sometimes, everyone has their own situation but like I even don't have a great FBM setup like at my house because I basically don't live there. But anyways, and then I have to work at the firehouse every third day. And so I did a lot of FBM through the through my prep center, and but I also did some FBM at my house. But so using a prep center, really prepping for like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We had so I after the podcast, I partnered with another seller because he was just newer than me, and I had my VA that I was kind of behind on the leads that he was sending me. Partially because I was testing out like a strategy where you don't buy the leads right away to kind of make sure that they're maybe like tank proof, um, to see if they're still steady. But I also realized like, oh, well, now it's out of stock or now there's no sale, or whatever it was. And so it took a while for me to like catch up to, to all my leads. And so there's another seller that I met and he's a really sharp dude. And, he wanted to like test out having a VA. So I said, hey, do you want to just share my VA? And, when we were sharing the cost of the VA, and both of us could go through the leads and we could have two eyes and two brains, figuring out whether it's a good lead or a bad lead. And you just get that other perspective. And I felt like that was a huge part of helping me grow, and then we were able to bring on some more VAs. So, but yeah, kind of as you grow, you just kind of keep identifying bottlenecks, whether and it's pretty much all stuff that is taking up too much of your time. So at first it was finding products, and so I got a VA that was finding me products, and then I felt like I was spending too much time like vetting leads, and I probably should have put more time like teaching him. But I think I got a VA too soon, honestly, because I kind of stopped doing my own sourcing.
Right. We see that a
So
lot.
yeah, so that's I would definitely recommend not getting a VA too soon because one of the most valuable skills is sourcing.
You need to learn that yourself.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, and then also so you can teach your VA, your future VAs effectively, because you've already honed in that skill. But then even like going through and spending the whole process of buying the leads became something that was taking a while. So we gave our VA the tools and resources to buy for us. And so we had this system going on where we would just approve it and he would buy it. And so it was almost a fully automated system. We just weren't quite there with trusting him to go ahead and buy the leads. Like we still wanted to decide if it's worth buying and
Review
how
and
much to buy.
approve. Yeah, which takes a lot less time than finding it and then placing the order, etc. Yeah. So was it the
Right.
same virtual assistant that was doing the bulk of the finding and the buying?
It was my original VA that like started buying, but we got a couple more VAs to come in and do the sourcing. So we kind of had our sourcing VAs and then our purchasing VA. And kind of as we've grown, my business partner got his own VA that is now his purchasing and admin VA, and I, have my purchasing VA that is doing a lot of my admin tasks. And then we have a VA that we share that is mostly doing wholesale sourcing. So just sourcing price lists and stuff. But when Q4 was coming around, we really wanted to take advantage of all of the amazing sales. So we kind of put a pause on our wholesale focus and went back to OA, and so we had them all kind of looking at keep a product finder mostly, or really keep a graphs, where last year the demand, the sales rank dropped real low. And you could see in a keep a graph where the sales go really low, or the sales drop goes low, which is good. And the offer counts would drop and the prices would go way up.
Right.
Basic
Right.
supply and demand.
Demand goes up, Price goes up, people willing to supply it or able to supply it goes down, meaning get in early on that one next year,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
If you're
exactly.
going to take advantage of seasonal. A lot of our sellers don't, but it sounds like
Right.
you guys did. Well, I'm going to pause you there for a second because I want to fill in a couple of gaps. If we got some newer listeners, you've used some acronyms and things and just keep people up to speed. You've mentioned VAs a few times, virtual assistants, right? That's a common acronym in our community. Typically, are yours in the Philippines? I'm assuming that's where most people hire. Yeah. So
Philippines and Pakistan.
Pakistan, right? So Vietnam, and there's several places that are good to go, but Philippines is kind of the default where three
Yeah,
$4 an hour local wage is a lot of money. It's a great job. It spends like three or four times minimum wage in the United States because $1 per hour US is the minimum wage in the Philippines. So it makes sense to leverage someone from another country
yeah,
where the US dollar goes really far and bring them onto your team. We've got a podcast episode. I'll stick a link in the show notes where I talk a lot about this. We've got a training module inside the Proven Amazon course on this topic as well. But you did that. And I want to go all the way back. You were mentioning you did a lot of merchant fulfill, FBM, which simply means, if people don't know, that means you're shipping it. Instead of sending it to Amazon's warehouse, you're shipping it out of your own house, your own garage, or your prep center, shipping it for you directly to the customer instead of it sitting in an Amazon warehouse. And during
right.
Q4, like you said, Ted, that really gets busy the last 3 months of the year because Amazon just gets really slow checking in inventory. So you can actually be
Right.
faster than Amazon. And you hear the stories, people filling up a shopping cart and stuff selling before they get to the checkout register because they've listed it for sale and customers are
Yeah.
buying it. You don't have to send it to Amazon first. So if you can turn your garage into a little warehouse where you ship direct to the customers, you can do really well. And that was a lot of what your $100,000 December last month was
Yeah.
from. The question I wanted to ask you about that was, what percentage merchant fulfill versus FBA or using Amazon's fulfillment services? Break that in down for me with approximately.
Yeah. It was probably about, I don't know, maybe 70%, 60, 70% FBM.
Oh, the
Um,
majority of it was definitely you doing your own shipping, kind of jumping on some of those seasonal opportunities, like you said, looking at the Keepa charts for clues, getting in
yeah,
early, buying the inventory. That's
yeah,
fantastic. That's a brilliant
yeah,
strategy, by the way. And you can use it for any holiday. We've got Valentine's Day
right,
coming up. You got Easter holidays coming up. Halloween is huge for spending online. So year round. It's not like you have to wait for Q4 to use that.
right.
Any date that people circle on the calendar and kind of universally celebrate, like, there's going to be a lead up to that. But the beautiful thing about Replin's model is you don't have to do that. You can just maintain your
Right.
boring status quo if you'd like. But if you want to hop on the
Yeah,
seasonals, you certainly can, and that's a good way to do it. Love it. All right, man. Well, let's
yeah,
keep it going. You're talking about how you guys kind of tapped into the keep a chart strategy, getting into the advanced keep a sourcing strategy, which is another module inside the Proven Amazon course where we talk through how to do those things. But Brian
yeah.
and Robin Joy Olson did a great job with that. By the way, Ted, I don't know if you knew or not, but they're completely updating, revamping, and adding new strategies to that course very soon. Here by the end of the month of
Oh, yeah.
January, should be in the Proven
Oh,
Amazon course,
nice.
completely revamped that very popular module. So be looking for that. But all right, man.
Awesome.
Well, let's keep it going. So, I want to hear a little bit more about your system. I know you've got a few VAs, you got a good partner, you're sharing some leads,
Yeah,
sharing some admin support team kind of thing. You've got
yeah,
the synergy effect in play where you're like, 1 + 1 = 4 because you guys are really pitching in and helping each other's businesses
yeah,
grow. What else?
yeah.
Who else is on your team, and what else is involved?
So right now, so we did let a couple of our sourcing VAs go at one point for multiple reasons, but you know, that was just a decision we had to make. It
Yep.
was we kind of had a reason to not necessarily like trust them, and then they were also related, and also their performance was kind of falling off a little bit, and we were just kind of trying to lean down a little bit. But so now it's like I'm still kind of business partners with my friend, but we each have our own admin VAs now, and then we're just sharing that one VA that's mostly dedicated to wholesale sourcing.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Understood. And what percentage of your business now is wholesale overall versus traditional
uh
that's retail?
it's pretty small right now, because we really tried to focus on the OA and the Q4 opportunity. And so now we're going to start focusing more on wholesale and trying to get branded bundles going.
Gotcha. Beautiful. Getting into
Yeah.
that too. Outstanding.
Yeah.
You working
Yeah.
with Leanna, or are you kind of figuring out on your own how you going there? You, because we got a couple coaches on our team that do that. Obviously, you know that, Ted, but just telling others.
Yeah.
Yeah. You going
Well,
through the course, or how you figuring that out?
so I haven't like gotten into it too much yet, but I just talked to Nathan yesterday, and I'll probably end up going through Humminbird to get them registered, and but just with help launching my first branded bundle.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
wise. Yeah, because we've helped a lot of people get rocking. Humminbird, of course, is the service that Nathan, our coaching director, I'm a part share owner in that company too. But just all those necessary services, brand registry, trademark,
yeah,
A+ content, getting your good pictures up there, all those kinds of things that go into building your own brand. Which to do a branded bundle, you need a unique component that belongs to you that's under your brand to do it the right way. So that's you're heading down that road. You're gonna love it. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
yeah.
So are you
So
doing any of the physical management or handling of your own products at all? Or do you have someone else? Like, what are you doing locally? Do you have a shopper who hits stores, or is this all online shopping delivered to your prep center?
yeah, it's almost all of it is online delivering straight to my prep center. Maybe if I had a better system here, I would do a little bit more like RA or shipping stuff to my house, which I did a little bit more of that during Q4, and sometimes even not during Q4 if I could get it from somewhere that accepts my retail merchant certificate so that I can get it tax free, and I don't have to pay a prep fee if it's something easy. But that was mostly FBM stuff during Q4. So but yeah, everything pretty much, I pretty much never see my product. I still have my returns going through Axiom Prep Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick a link to
So
them in the show notes too. I think their link is silentjimdotcom/returns, but I'm not positive. Check the show notes if you just heard me
yeah.
say that and that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the link to them, because you don't have to have, when a customer does a return, it doesn't have to come to your front porch. If you're doing this business at scale, you want your returns going somewhere where they can flip them on eBay, or
Yeah.
liquidate them for you on your behalf. That's wise.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. So
Yeah.
you're using a third party service, and there's a couple new services that provide those kind of services as well. The sellers, I think I've got one. I think it's going to be coming to the conference here in May, the Proven Conference. Yeah, so great. Yeah, sounds like you really got it dialed in. So you're not doing a lot of physical management of your own products. You got it fairly dialed in. And like you said
Yeah.
earlier, you're a full-time firefighter, which, what is that schedule? One on, two off.
Hmm.
That's the
Yep.
schedule. So it's a 24-hour shift
Yeah.
and then 2 days
Yep.
off. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yep.
that's your full-time gig. So between that and this, yeah.
Yep.
So what's the path forward look like, without getting into anything you don't want to share publicly? Because this is going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, where's this heading, man? If you don't mind sharing, like, what's your vision?
So I'm thinking what I'll probably do is, I'll still probably get my 20 years in. I've got eight years completed, and like if I felt like it was holding me back much, then maybe I would make a tough decision, but I don't think it really is. Sometimes it can be escape from all of the distractions of your normal life when you go
Sure.
into work, and sometimes I can focus more on this business there, between the runs and everything else that we have to do. So it's really a pretty good system, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to. And something that's attributed to some of my success is that I've had time. I don't. I have the margin in my life, as you've said before, to dedicate to this, and you need to have some of that margin to be successful. And sometimes it's creating that margin. Like you don't realize that you do have the time, but I definitely had the time. And now I feel like I don't have any time at all because I like, there's so much stuff to do, but I love it. And, I'm here for it. And, it's fun always having that thing that you're working towards, and there's always seems to be a better future ahead of you, and you can always feel gratitude for how far you've come and all the people you've met and how much you've just grown as an overall person. So
You really
yeah,
have, man. You've changed a lot in a year, haven't you? I
yeah,
mean, in many ways. And it's not like we hang out all the time and I know, but I'm just the way you carry yourself, your confidence in this, kind of the purpose and direction. And you were a sponge early on, and you still are. But now
mhm,
it's like you've kind of come alive and like, hey, I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to share. This works. I'm confident in it. I can show
yeah,
you what to do, what not to do. You believe in the systems, you believe in the community, and I think the key to all of that, and you've already said it, but I just want to repeat it, is relationships. Because if that guy that I met, a year and a half ago or so, Ted, had said, yeah, yeah, relationships, whatever, just show me what to do, where to buy, where to go, how to do it. I'm going to sit behind my computer and make it happen. I don't need anybody. I just need their information. A lot of
yeah,
people do that. It doesn't work. And I love when someone comes on and validates and confirms, like, yeah, that's right. It's the relationships. It's the people who have, kept me from stepping off a cliff blindfolded in this whole
yeah,
thing, and, showed me what works and introduced me to a tool, or, hey, be sure to check out this podcast episode if you didn't hear it, kind of stuff. Just that ongoing camaraderie. Um,
yeah,
and that's been the key. And that's so consistent in
mm,
our community because content works. If you've got margin in your life, content works, but you're going to need relationships to sustain. Lone wolves don't make it. Yeah, you're a great example of
exactly.
that. So excited to have you on board. Well, we were talking
Yeah,
before we hit record today. Well, and we introduced at the beginning of the show that you're a new coach on our team. So what I typically do when we bring new coaches on is I have a quick conversation with them, and you and I can talk after the recording's over for a couple minutes if you have the time today. But I don't wouldn't mind just going over a couple things that I go over with all the new coaches, and we can just stick it right on a podcast if that's okay with you, Ted. Is that cool?
with me.
So, I mean, it really is a pretty short. It's an interesting process that we have bringing people onto the coaching team around here because I'm asked sometimes, not all the time, but occasionally people will say, like, how do you manage a team of 100 people, 60 coaches? Like, what's the qualification interview process look like? And I go back to some wisdom from, the guy you hear me reference all the time, Rabbi Daniel Lapin, who says, if all I know about you is you've run a profitable business over an extended period of time with happy clients, happy partners, happy employees, and you're doing it profitably, I know a lot about you without ever having a conversation because that's not an easy thing to do. It speaks to your
Hmm.
character, your integrity, your determination, your grit, that you've got some margin in your life to learn new things. You believe in things like delayed gratification, meaning I'm going to risk today so I can have a better tomorrow. A lot of people never learn that. I know all
Hmm.
those things about you without even having a conversation if you've run a profitable business over an
Yeah,
extended period of time. So now you bring me a group of people who meet that qualification. The only other question I have is, do they have a teacher's heart? If they do, I mean, they're willing to sit down and share what they've learned with someone who's kind of earned that time. I get these, hey, can I pick your brain questions all the time, and you will too. After this
yeah,
podcast episode, your inbox is going to fill up. Hey, can I pick your brain? Like if you just let people pick your brain, that's all you do for a living. 12 hours a day. You got to figure
yeah.
out who's serious, who's not just kicking
Right.
the tire, who has margin in their life. One of the ways we know is who's willing to pay for what it is, the value that we offer. That's kind of how we filter
Right.
it out, right? But one of the
Yeah.
reasons I wrote a book is because I could just give that to people and say, hey, read this. Tell me a month from now,
Yeah.
3 things you learned, and get back to me. And almost no one ever does. Those are the tire kickers, right? And it would
Yeah.
have completely wasted my time and theirs.
Yeah.
But now I've got this guy, you and the other coaches who they've built a sustained profitable business over a period of time, and they've got a teacher's heart. Interview's over, man. That's it. That's all we needed to know because now I know I'm dealing with a good person who's capable of achieving. They're
Yeah.
capable of self-discipline, and they're capable of doing life the right way, serving others, and they got a teacher's heart. So the only other thing that I typically share is just a couple facts, and I spend more time than we're going to do it here. But the fact that we've got the longest running e-commerce coaching program in the world, to my knowledge, speaks to our commitment to you. We've been doing this a long time. We plan to keep doing it a long time, and you're not doing it alone. So when you come on as a coach with us, Ted, it's not you and the client, and you guys are off on your little island, and you better figure it out. No, it's
Yeah.
you're a liaison into this community, this entire
Yeah.
coaching team, and anything you run into that you don't know, just say, I don't know. I'm going to go find out. And I'm going to ask the
Yeah.
people who've probably seen it 100 times, and I'll get back to you. So it's not on
Mhm.
you. It takes a lot of pressure off the coach, right? It's a
Right.
mentor relationship, and you're used to that already. You understand the importance of relationships. So you're building a mentorship relationship with the client, and make it something that's as significant as you want. We've seen clients and clients and coaches, students and coaches build businesses together. Like they
Yeah.
become friends, and they forget a couple years later, like, how'd we meet? Oh yeah, you were my coaching client. Well, now we're partners, and we've launched some product or something, or we've built a service, or there's so much potential because the people that we bring through the program have been very vetted. They've been
Yeah.
interviewed. They're people with margin in their life who understand the value of having a coach and mentor from an established program, working with people of integrity who have teachers' hearts, who achieve significant levels of success. They understand all that. So you're not just out there kicking the tires with random people who happen to say, "Can I pick your brain?" Now, these are like
Yeah.
serious, let's go, show me what works. And you can build relationships and partnerships with those people. So those are the things that I typically go over with new coaches. And now we've said it on the podcast too, if anyone's curious. And that's about it. I mean, I may spend another 10 minutes or so with the new coaches, but there's plenty of them I've never actually met because they met all the qualifications. They've talked to our team, as you have, Nathan. They met Nathan and Matt in the coaching office, kind of the logistics of getting on the schedule and that sort of thing. But as
Mhm.
far as working with me and talking with me, that's about all I got for you, dude. That's it. Welcome to the team, man. It's going to be a blast. We won't give you more students than you want. It's going to be at your pace, and but you will see a nice stream, especially after this episode hits. Probably people saying, "Hey, I think I want to work with that guy." So you'll have a few clients here in short order, I'm pretty sure. Pardon the interruption. We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I've got to tell you about the sponsor that we have today, Humminbird, Humbird, humminbird.com. There's a link in the show notes. They provide services for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing, and tax advising, as well as we enter that time of the year where taxes are on the mind of especially those of us here in the United States. How do you most efficiently handle the challenges of making sure you get all of your deductions, taking care of all your tax concerns, making sure you do it right without paying too much? As an e-commerce seller, as an Amazon business building warrior, they've got some incredible services that you should go check out at humminbird.com. That's spelled Humbird.com. Let's get back to the program. But you will see a nice stream, especially after this episode hits. Probably people saying, "Hey, I think I want to work with that guy." So you'll have a few clients here in short order, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any
Bring it
questions
on.
about any of that? How's that sound? As you can tell, I've done it a handful of times.
No, I mean, like you said, I've talked to Nathan and you, and yeah, I'm just excited for to keep getting challenged and be even more connected in the community. And I'm excited to teach people, but also for them to teach me. Like you said, everyone has their own little perspective and spin on every aspect of this business, and if we all collaborate and combine what works for each other, we all win.
Yeah.
So yeah, just excited for that whole process.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're going to fit right in. Yeah, that abundance mindset. None of us are holding our secrets close to our chest. We're out there sharing, "Hey, here's what works. Here's what I'm learning. Teach me something." And that's just led to so many great success stories. Well, we've mentioned the conference coming up in May, and you and I were talking right before we hit record today, saying, "Hey, you want to come? You want to present?" And we're just kind of kicking it around. So you are coming. The Proven Conference. There's a link in the show notes. It's May 23rd through 25th of 2024. But you were saying, "Hey, I'm not sure what I present on." And I said, "Well, let's talk about it on the podcast." Because I think what
Mhm.
the listeners are thinking right now is, wow, I'd love to go to a session with Ted. If it was titled "How I Went from $7,000 to $100,000 in 1 year," I'm sitting in on that session, right? Like, that's what I would encourage you. Just make it very much, "Hey, here's my story. Speak from the heart." You don't even need any notes. I love to challenge our
Right.
speakers to speak without any slides or notes. Come in
Yeah.
with you got your index card, you got two or three bullet points that you're going to hit,
Yeah.
and that's your guide. And then you're going to take some questions at the end. And it's, here's what I did, here's what works, here's what doesn't work, here's the
Yeah.
mistakes you might make that I almost made or that I did make. Here's the pivot points. Had I not done these things, I wouldn't be where I am. these are
Yeah.
the things you need to do. And then some very practical, specific, ways to use Keepa or, something like that.
Yeah.
That hour will fly by, dude. You'll be like, what, an hour
Yeah.
already? Wait, I'm only on bullet point number 2 and I had 5 things to say, right? I mean, just because when you speak from the heart and tell your story and you're talking to an audience who can't wait to just absorb all the details of your story, I think
Yeah.
that's or anything else you have in mind. But I'm just thrilled that we've got a conference coming up where we've got 40 breakout sessions that are kind of like what I just described. We don't go find professional speakers. We started telling people years ago, if you want to be professionally entertained and impressed by professional speakers, guys with books and tours and all that, like just get on YouTube and watch it or go to someone else's conference. That's not ours. Ours is real people who are succeeding right now doing strategies from our community, and they're leaders on our team, coaches or successful students sharing from the heart. Like, here's what works, guys. Go home and do these 3 things. Practical content. So your ability to step up, I would think right now, Ted, I could hand you a microphone in front of a room of 100 people and say, just tell your story, and you're good to go. And it would be fantastic. It would be
Yeah.
fantastic. So, that I'd love to see
Oh,
you on the list, man. And I think we're probably going to add you if you're okay with it. No pressure right now to decide, of course, but I love challenging our leaders and coaches to step up. The next step in your leadership journey is getting in front of others, like Travis has told you as well, speaking,
yeah.
sharing your story. And that's how you create new income streams as well.
Right.
The
Yeah.
opportunities that bubble out of that. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts as I say all that?
No, I mean, I was telling you earlier that, I really appreciate how like you and Travis have, challenged me in my leadership journey and how I like, you can't turn down one of those challenges from someone that's, where you want to be one day, or someone that's really helped you, someone that's ahead of you. So honestly, I think that sounds awesome. i
Yeah.
i think I should do
Well,
it.
by the time listeners hear this show, they can hop onto the website for the conference and they're going to see your picture on the list of speakers, man. Let's go. And we'll figure out the exact details of the topic between now and then, plenty of time. But yeah, phenomenal. So you'll be there and folks can come
Sweet.
meet you and go to your session and cheer you on
Yeah.
as a first time speaker. We got a good number of first time speakers this year. I always love seeing those first time nervous speakers. And it's great. It's crazy, Ted, the number of times the second year, they're just all seasoned pros. It's like
Yeah.
no nervousness, no sweat. They're just up there chatting with a bunch of friends about, interacting with the audience and
Yeah.
there to learn just as much as there's there to teach. It's a zero ego environment, which is just
Right.
so refreshing, man. No one's there to impress anybody. We're there to help each
Yeah.
other's businesses grow. And you get, 700 plus people together with that attitude as we're kind of characterized by that vibe. It's a
Yeah.
powerful atmosphere. So yeah, you're going to do great. Well, yeah, I just realized I was thinking through this show if there's anything else we wanted to hit, and of course, anything else you want to talk about, Ted, is wide open. But we've talked about some numbers, revenue, but we haven't talked about margin, which is always a big deal because we
Mhm.
don't want to, leave the impression that you made $100,000 in December. You certainly didn't.
Right.
What are your
Yeah.
margins after everything's said and done? Break that down for us, however you can.
So in December, it ended up being about a like a 17% net margin. So
That's beautiful. And that's
that's
easy
pretty
math to
amazing
do
in
on
one month.
100,000. You put 17,000 in the bank after everything's said and done. Bills are paid, and that's including all your software. Is that before or after you've paid yourself? I'm assuming before.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 17%, 17,000 in the bank, and pay yourself some of that, right? Or roll it back into the business.
Yeah.
Because a single, you're so single. Last I checked, single. You
Yeah.
haven't
I'm
gotten married,
single. I
have you?
mean, no, no. I've got an amazing, supportive girlfriend. We're just not quite married yet.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that offline, buddy, because I'm coming up on 30 years. Marrying the right girl as young as possible, always smart, dude. I'm a grandpa now too, because my one of my sons, he and his wife just had a little baby. We're going to have him at the conference. Actually, I was bragging about it
Yeah.
last year's conference. This year, going to have little
Yeah.
James with me. So yeah, man, we can talk about that
Awesome.
offline. No pressure publicly
Yeah.
on that, but if
Hey,
you
no, it's all good.
yeah,
No,
but that's awesome, dude. So, but I'm just saying, you don't have a lot of bills, responsibilities. You're not in that full stage of life, kids. Those kind of, mortgage. How aggressively am I going to pay it off? All that's coming, but you're set up in a beautiful place, a business like this that can be automated and new income streams on the horizon, coaching being one of them, but many other
Yeah.
opportunities coming your way. I'm excited for the journey you're on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to get out there today? I think it's been a great episode, but was there anything else on
um,
any tips or strategies, questions for me on what we talked about? I almost wish we could open up the microphone for the listeners because I'm sure they're raising their hand virtually, but come meet Ted at the conference, ask him your questions there. But what else is
yeah.
on your mind where we can add some value maybe for the listeners to
Um, so I guess some tips that I kind of wrote down, and I'll try not to just say stuff that I've already said. But so I guess a couple like practical tips. There was something that I was doing. So something to definitely take advantage of and for OA is the cashback sites like
Mm,
Rakuten and Top Cashback. But I kind of realized that I wasn't getting all of the cashback that I thought I was getting. So I realized to increase your conversion rate for actually getting that cash back instead of just putting stuff in your cart and then hitting the Google extension, Chrome extension, and then adding your cashback that way. That's not what those sites are built to do necessarily. They're more of like a referral site. So if you go to their actual site and then go to go to Rakuten, go to the site you're about to purchase from through Rakuten, and then find your product you're about to buy, I found that you have a little bit higher chance of actually getting that cash back.
interesting. Okay. Make sure that they're tracking and that it's sticky. Yeah. I don't do that part of my business. I'm not sure if my team's doing much of that or not. They should be if they're not. But I love that tip that make sure that you're actively using it the proper way. Go through
Yeah,
Rakuten or whatever the site is on your way
yeah,
to filling your cart
hmm,
versus just relying on
yep,
them to track it all. Yeah. Good tip, man. Yeah.
yeah.
And do you do any credit cards, like point back cards you purchase?
Yes. So, well, I do discounted gift cards, and those are a no-brainer, really. You know, if you can get good ones. Also, something that I kind of learned recently that I'm like really excited about is optimizing your credit card point, getting the most out of your purchases with the right credit cards, and then also making the most out of your redemption of those points. I know Taylor Thomas did a
Mhm.
talk last at the Proven Conference all about like points, and also he owns the arbitrage card.
Yeah, he's coming
Um,
back to the event this year, probably a similar presentation. I think it's silentjimdotcom/gift cards. I
yeah,
think I'll stick a link in the show notes if that's not it. I've got a lot of those links I have had to memorize, but that's Taylor's arbitrage
yeah,
card service where he, it's either gift card or gift cards, plural. Well, he's got a free book that talks you through the basics of all of this. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I met a guy at the event last year. I can't remember who it was. Someone needs to write a book on this, just this subject. But he's rotating through like it was like 30 credit cards or something. It's just
yeah,
optimizing and using the right one and paying them off on time and then, maxing
right,
them out and paying them off right before they're due. And just has
right,
this beautiful system, or I think it was based on the day of the month was the card he would use and then pay
yeah,
them off on that day, same day of the month, the next month, so that he was definitely doing it before it was due, right?
yeah, right,
Uh,
right,
Pretty cool strategy. But he had
yeah,
30 cards, and like Dave Ramsey fans would pass out at that point, right?
yeah,
Like, oh, that's not
yeah, I
humanly
know,
possible. So I'm not
yeah,
saying do it. I'm not recommending it, but I'm just saying that's the scope of kind of the creative ideas because you get a couple points of margin here, 3 or 4 points of margin there. Pretty soon,
right,
you're getting 5, 7, 8, 10 points of margin off just the way that you're buying your stuff because it's so discounted, right? Without doing anything
yeah,
different. You're not waiting on a sale. You're getting your sale anytime you want because you're stacking your
yeah,
discounts.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, and then even on top of that, like you can buy like you can use a credit card that has, like 5x points at like office supply stores. You can buy gift cards or even Visa debit cards from those stores and get 5x points and then just buy your inventory with that. And that's one of the beautiful things about this business is how much you spend
Yes.
because you got to spend it to make it. And so
Right.
if you're, really maximizing your point value out of all of the spending that you're already doing for this business, it's like, I mean, you could break even in this business and make a bunch of money or have a bunch of perks, but
Yeah. You could
you're
sell
making
products for
profit
the
and everything else.
Yeah, sell it for the same price retail that you bought it for, but you're making money because of the all the built-in. Yeah, like Menards has one of the hardware stores. I know you're familiar with Ted. They're in the area here. I'm not sure how spread out they are across the country, but they have this 11% rebate that they run year round. Max that out using a discounted gift card, and then you go in. It's like you stack all these discounts, and suddenly you're paying a
Yeah,
lot less than retail, and you're not waiting on sales. And
yeah,
I flew last summer. We flew. There was 11 of us to Mexico, and total cost was like, I don't know what the minimum charge per ticket was, like $20 a ticket or something. For the flights round trip to Cancun for our family vacation because of all the airline points I had on one of my cards.
right.
And so
Yeah,
yeah, you're spending a lot of money, and that money's coming back to you 4, 6, 8 weeks later. But
right.
credit cards like when you spend a lot of money, and they'll reward you whether you're paying it off on time or not. You've
Yeah,
got some points coming. So pay it off on time, and there's a lot of points there. Yeah, an untapped opportunity for sure that's not mentioned enough in our community. Yeah, glad
yeah,
you brought it up.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
what else is on your list, man?
I guess let's see. I mean, definitely trying to join, like find the I mean, there's some posts that you do every now and then in the My Silent Team Facebook of finding out where people are geographically. And
Mhm.
like I've had people reach out to me because they saw me there and vice versa. And I've made some good friends out of that. And like Jeff, I believe you just recorded a podcast with Jeff, who's also local to Indianapolis. Anyways, you know, we're learning a lot from each other, and it's turning into a nice friendship. And the more you get connected like that, the more it's like, all right, this is my normal. Like this doesn't suck. Like this is actually like fun, and it keeps you accountable and everything. So
Yeah, all kinds of
um,
benefits. Absolutely. Well,
yeah,
just to give people a little more instruction, specifically, if you get into our Facebook group, and one of the best ways to find it's a single post that we made a while back, and we encourage people mention the nearest big cities to where you live, and then search our group for mentions of those big cities where others have mentioned them as well, and then private message and connect with them. That's the best way we've identified for a group of 74,000 to find out who lives near you. There's instructions on an intro video that we have for all new members. It's like posted up top in the featured section of our group.
yeah,
But yeah, absolutely. Rather than the little town, the little suburb you live in, name the big town. If you live near Denver, say Denver. And then you can find out who else lives near Denver by searching our group for that word. And you'll find, wow, there's a lot of people. Then, just like you said, Ted, just private
yeah,
message those folks. And sometimes people won't respond, and a lot of times they will. And now you've found potentially some folks nearby. And typically, a lot of the bigger city areas of the United States, there's already a group or two that's formed either out of our community or just e-commerce sellers in general that you can locate. But yeah, it's vital. And
yeah,
people who say, "Well, I'm not really," this is my pushback that I give when people say, I'm just not a people person. I'm more of an introvert." Like you're gonna have to
yeah,
get over that.
yeah,
Introvert isn't an excuse to be rude or isolated. Introvert means you recharge by being alone after you've been in a group of people. But you got to be around people. Introvert doesn't mean isolation, live in a cave. Nope, not allowed to do that. You can't thrive that way, and it's not healthy.
yeah,
So find these people, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, go to these meetups, get to the conference in May if at all possible. If you can't make
yes,
that, be more intentional about attending smaller events in your area, that sort of thing. Yeah, great
yeah,
tip. I love that you spent some
yeah,
time letting me riff on that as well because it's vital. It really is.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think just using the power of social media, on Facebook, Instagram, there's a big community on Twitter. If you go around and you could make a new account or whatever, and just follow other people that have FBA in their name or whatever, and document your journey. And opportunities start coming out of nowhere, and people that you can build relationships and partners, and you know you just want to put yourself out there so that, when opportunities come in the future or whatever, be like, well, look at my social media page. Like, look, I'm not, blowing smoke. I actually do this and I've been doing it, and here is, my journey. So
I muted myself. Yeah,
oh
you're building your
yeah.
network, man. That's
Yeah.
right, and that has tremendous value. That network has
Mhm.
tremendous value. I
Yep.
mean, as in more money in your pocket over time.
Yeah.
It's not just having better friends and good people in your life. That's a great benefit as well, obviously, but you'll make more money because, like you said, the
Yeah.
opportunities that fall in your lap. I say all the time, my phone just kind of rings with opportunity because I've put it out there, who I am, what I do. Even people who don't know I have a podcast or a book or a Facebook community, they just know that I'm the guy that knows how to sell stuff online. That's all they know.
Mhm.
My phone rings because I've let that be known. When people say, "What do?" You don't shy away from it. You say, I know how to sell stuff online. Amazon, Walmart, eBay. I've done it all, doing it all, learning. I'm in a community of people that do all that sort of thing. Ever know anybody that needs stuff sold online? Have them give me a call, maybe a potential partnership relationship. I've seen multi-million dollar ideas drop out of the sky from members of our community, just, leaning over a fence at their kid's baseball game. What do you do? I'm a dentist. So what do you do? Yeah, I sell stuff online. I know how to e-commerce, man. I know how to make the phone
Yeah.
ring online and sell stuff and
Yeah.
make stuff move. Like, hey, I got a guy you should meet. Off you go. We've had people move from one state to another to pursue massive opportunities based on conversations like that. Just
Yeah.
because it is a very much in demand skill set that we're developing here. I would argue one of the
Hmm.
most valuable skill sets you could be adding to your life. Well, a great
Definitely.
list, man. Anything else on your list?
So something that I felt like I was struggling with for the last podcast episode I was on, I've I always felt like a little overwhelmed, and like I wasn't, getting all the stuff done that I, needed to efficiently. I would just kind of go back to where I was at, and then I'd have a million tabs open, and I just like it just wasn't very efficient. And so I think it's important to build some sort of productivity, system, like to-do list system for yourself, where you can capture all of these things that you need to remember to do, and then
Mm,
you can go into wherever you're capturing it
yeah.
and then
Do
organize those
do you have a
things.
system for that now?
Yeah, so I've been working on optimizing my system, and I use an app called Todoist.
I've heard of it,
Um, yeah, it's kind of like Trello if you've ever heard of that,
of course.
and it's great. It's got a Chrome extension, and it's got a Gmail extension, and it's got an app on your phone, and you can ask Siri, like remind me on Todoist to do this, and then you can organize and label everything, and then once you have a team of VAs, you can assign these things to your VAs, and even like recurring tasks, like for an admin VA, if you want a checklist of your admin VA to check all of these things every day or every other day, every once a week, you can add those things so you know that they're being checked off. And I think that's just a huge part of, learning how to manage a team and manage all of these tasks that you have to manage and actually get stuff done every day. So
There's a cool book. I don't know if I've recommended to you or not. Have you heard of the book Getting Things Done?
I have,
Have you read it yet?
um,
It took me a year to read it, which is kind of ironic. The title is Getting Things Done. It took me a year to
yeah,
finish. It's been several
I
years
think,
ago.
I don't know if I ever got around to that one.
Yeah, right. But here's the basic
Which
premise, and
is funny.
you just kind of hit on it, Ted. The basic premise of the
Yeah.
book is I don't want to have to remember anything. I want to operate
Oh, I did start it.
in a confident. There you go. Yeah, it takes forever to finish, right? But it's very specific tips and strategies, and the app that you're mentioning and some of the tools that are available to us now make a lot of this a lot easier. But if you're
Yeah.
having to remember stuff, or if you're ever forgetting to do important things, or if there's ever a pile of stuff that it's like, oh man, I don't want to tackle that pile, and one of the things that again my mentor Daniel Lappin often says is, he doesn't like to break things down to one secret, but he says if I was forced to name the one secret to success in life, it's getting the things done that need done when they're supposed to be done, not pushing them off till later. Because you turn those little monsters into big monsters just by putting them on the back shelf. And now you're fighting big monsters constantly, these important and urgent. If you ever have important and urgent things happening in your life, it's because of a lack of planning typically earlier on, not getting
Right.
things done. Not buying that insurance policy means when you've got a flood in your warehouse, it costs you $300,000 instead of costing you $30 a month. I mean, we just had that example on our podcast a few days ago. Getting things done when they should be done is important. So putting those on your calendar, putting those, checking the boxes, having a good mentor, being in a good community, and just constantly, so you go to an event like the Proven Conference, for example, Ted, you're going to walk away with a minimum of 20, 25 things that you thought, okay, I need to do this. And rather just filling up
Yeah.
your notebook, what do you do with that? It's like, okay, I don't need to worry about this one till April. I'm just going to stick it out there somewhere next year, before tax
Yeah.
time, a couple weeks before that. I need to make sure I check this box. You'll think about it again. It's on your calendar, it's in your to do list, right? But you
Yeah.
got to have a way to, where do you absorb it? You can't just commit it to memory. So I love that tip.
Right.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge skill.
Yeah.
The ability to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've got a catalog of stuff I've got to do eventually that way out there. And
Right.
I'm visually organized a little bit too. I've got some stuff on a board here right next to me. But all
Yeah.
that's also in my system as well, email
Yeah.
reminders and that sort of thing. So beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that you mentioned it. Yeah, that book, Getting
Yeah.
Things Done. I would recommend probably plow through it if this is a topic you're passionate about,
Yeah.
because you will learn some pretty cool things. And again,
Yeah.
it's all about having that free flow state of mind where there's nothing I'm forgetting today. I've got an organized system. I'm doing the things today that need to be done today, and tomorrow can
Yeah.
wait. I don't need to worry about it or think about it.
Exactly. And that allows you to be present,
Mhm.
in whatever task you're doing, or also when you're done working in your own life, you can be present with
Yes, you can turn it all
the
off.
people that are important. Exactly.
If you have trouble turning it all off, this might be the reason, because you
Yeah.
don't have a system like what you described, Ted. Yeah,
Exactly.
so I'd be interested to hear back what you think of that book after you get a chance to finish it. Is your book list
Yeah.
growing of books you want to get to? That's another sign of,
Yeah.
of
It's all podcasts and audiobooks. It's
yep,
which
there's
is
always
great.
a
I mean,
lot. Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Great tips. Well,
Um,
what else is on your list, man? If you got anything else, let's pop through them.
yeah.
I've taken up a lot of your time today.
Yeah. No, I can wrap things up. There was two book recommendations that I have that I felt like were good for me. And one, have you heard of the Go Giver?
Yes, absolutely. I've had
Yeah.
multiple people recommend, like, Jim, you got to read this over the past. That book was been out, what, 15 years, maybe at least? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a really good one, and it's a great way to build your relationships and your network, and it's just the truth.
Mhm. Yeah. I
So
need to
there's
revisit that one. It's been a long time ago I read it. I want to reread that one. Thanks for mentioning it.
yeah. Yeah, no problem. And then Clockwork by Mike McAllowitz.
Haven't read that. I don't know the premise there. Fill me in.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like basically growing your team and delegating and creating a system to where you don't have to be there. And it's just a lot of good information for, I think delegating and, creating your system is, pretty much the key to scaling. And so it's got some good like practical tips on kind of how to do that and how to just kind of think about that as you
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. I love that whole premise that a business is inputs and outputs, so now you're
Yeah.
building the system and I don't have to be the one doing the inputs or the outputs or running the system in between. If I put good people in place who are highly qualified and capable, that's the leadership journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love books like that. Yeah. I'll have to check that one
Yeah.
out. It kind of sounds like a sequel to someone who reads something like the E-Myth. Like, hey, being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur isn't about, you know, running a bakery isn't about cooking good pies. It's about a lot of other
Right.
things too. You need a system, inputs and
Yeah.
outputs, managing people,
100%.
managing systems. So
Yeah.
Clockwork sounds like a good book. What was the author on that?
Mike McAllowitz. He's also the one that did Profit First.
Oh, same guy. Cool. Yeah, he's got a great reputation for that book for sure.
Yeah.
We were talking with him about coming to our conference at one point to maybe
Yeah,
present.
he's a great speaker.
Yeah.
And listening to his book and just watching some YouTube videos, he's super fun to hear talk about that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. I need to check that book out then for sure. All right. Cool.
yeah,
Good list, buddy.
it's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to end with is a quote that I think applies to kind of everything in life, but also a lot of it has to do with, being a business building warrior. So the quote is, the magic you are looking for is in the work you are avoiding. So, whatever you're feeling anxious about, you're feeling anxious about it because you're avoiding what needs to be done. And I mean, it's just like just taking initial action in this whole journey. You might be like just trying to learn and be like, oh, I don't know all this stuff. It's like, yeah, because you're not doing it. Like
You're
once
avoiding the
you
work.
actually start doing the work,
Mhm.
that's the magic you're missing.
That's so good. That sounds like a Simon Sinek or do you happen to know who said that?
No,
I
I
could
I
always
just
Google
looked
it.
it up because I couldn't remember, and
Yeah. No, that's
but
awesome.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
The magic
that's
you're
a good
looking
one.
for is in the work you're avoiding. That's kind of the theme we hit today too. Doing what must be
Yeah,
done when it must be done. If you want to build a
yeah,
business, it's time to turn off Netflix. It's like
yeah,
you got to get to
yeah,
work. There's a lot of people are still stuck in that phase of thinking, well, I just haven't bought the right system and pushed the right buttons yet. I haven't bought the right crypto to make myself rich yet. Like, no, for every 10,000 people that go down that easy path, one of them makes it out with a story to tell where they made some money, and the rest just live a life that's unworthy
right,
of what was possible. And
right,
it takes work, man. Like we say all the time,
yeah,
blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, risk,
yeah,
relationships, partnerships, accountability. I even like the word discipleship. Like at any given time, one of the things I think every leader has to look at is who's discipling me, who's leading me towards more of who I want to be and who I know I should be. Right. That's the
yeah,
spiritual term we use as Christians, discipling me, which implies reward and almost punishment, like almost the coach. It's like, hey, you didn't stick to the plan yesterday. Guess what? It's 3 times worse today because you
right,
didn't run a mile yesterday. We're going to run 4 today. Right. Like you need that person
yeah,
who's just kind of pushing you towards a positive place. But
right,
just as important is you need to have someone behind you that you're mentoring. That's the healthy place to be. You're bringing someone else
yeah,
along, and you got
yeah,
somebody pulling you, pushing you, prodding you forward. Um,
yeah,
and if you're not in that place, you're not getting all that you could out of business life, relationships,
right,
anything that matters. So I
yeah.
love it, man. You're gonna have a book in you before long, dude. I can just you're on that. I can't wait.
Hey, who knows?
Yeah, God.
I never thought all this was possible, and here it is happening right before my eyes.
Yeah. You're building something beautiful and it's just getting started. As hard as that might be to believe, you're just getting started. I talked
Yeah,
to a guy
I
here just a
believe it
couple of
now.
days ago from our community. I hadn't talked to him in 7, 8 years, getting caught up, and he has a $16 million arbitrage business on Amazon right now. 16 million with a team of a few dozen people and just humming
Wow.
along, man. It's just getting caught up. Kind of started just like you and just kind of stuck with
Yeah,
it and kept growing, kept building, connecting with good people, developing his processes and systems, learning good new
yeah,
strategies, and sky's the limit. We're in the right industry.
yeah,
Well done, man.
100%.
Well, great getting caught up, Ted. We'll talk again
Yeah,
soon, and welcome to the coaching team. And it's good hanging out with you a little bit, buddy.
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Well, let me talk to the listeners for a second. Those of you who hung out with Ted and I today for a few minutes of your day, we really appreciate it. Hopefully, you got a lot of value. I think Ted brought a lot of very specific tips and challenges for you. If you're taking notes, go do that stuff. Don't just write it down or make a mental note. Actually, do the stuff that we're talking about. The systems we teach here work. We'd love to help you build a beautiful business. If you want to hear a bunch of other episodes where we've talked to the successful students from this community, other proven Amazon course students, you can go to silentjimdotcom, click on podcast, and you're going to see hundreds of interviews like this that we've compiled from the great people like Ted who have made this community what it is, a group of business building warriors using the internet creatively to launch and grow beautiful income streams. That's what we do here. And we're so excited that you came along for the ride today. Hey, one last time, great job, Ted. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And for the listeners, we'll have another great episode for you very soon. Appreciate you spending time with us today. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Before I let you go, one last reminder, humminbird.com, today's sponsor for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing needs, and yes, tax services as an Amazon e-commerce seller. Book a schedule appointment with them today to take care of all those paperwork things that you don't want to have to mess with. They're really good at it. They'll take good care of you. Tell them I sent you. Humminbird.com, HUMNBIRD.com. Thanks for being a sponsor of this program. Hey, we'll see you next time.